In the wilderness of life, we can never be too prepared.
You're listening to Wilderness of Life, a podcast focusing on the topics of health, sustainability, and adventure. I'm your host, Jen Donoghs, and in this episode, I discuss preparing for a challenge with Cal Major of Paddle Against Plastic. Follow Cal on Instagram at Paddle Against Plastic and find her blog that goes further in depth on her expeditions and mission at paddleagainstplastic.com.
Beautiful!
Hello! I'll show you around. I'll give you the guided tour. This is the estuary. So this is next to where I live.
Nice.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. So and then the beach is just so the estuary sort of flows out that way, and then we've got a really long beach along the south side of it, where I've just been for a surf this morning. So it's a perfect day.
Oh my goodness, this is my husband.
Hello.
He can't hear you.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
Hi.
He's the paddleboarder that's gotten our family into it.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah.
And you're doing this stuff in whereabouts is it you are?
We're in the Seattle area.
In Seattle,
Yeah.
yeah. And you're doing lots of paddleboarding adventures and things over there, aren't you?
Mhm.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, good.
How is it going?
Good. It's going really good.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah,
Do it.
Shane's really into whitewater paddleboarding, so that's what he's been doing right now.
Sweet. I've never done any whitewater stuff, but it looks really exciting.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah. So what, you go on the river rapids and stuff?
I didn't hear it. You have to turn
Do you
it
go
up.
on river rapids and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
There's a lot of runs close by that are pretty fun.
That
River
sounds
rapids.
brilliant. There's none of that round here, so I've never done any of that, but I'd love to give it a go. I know a couple of mates who've done it up in Scotland and stuff. It sounds brilliant.
Yeah. If you ever come up this way, you have to give it a shot.
Thanks. Yeah, similarly, if you ever come over to England, you give me a shout. Some nice paddling over here.
So there's nice paddling in England.
Oh, yeah. I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Are you
Oh,
good?
that's good too. Yeah.
Okay, good night.
Nice to meet
Bye,
you.
Shane. Yeah, you too. Bye.
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 So-
Oh, is it really late there? I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
You...
He just got done editing photos for one of his customers, so he's all good to
Pretty
go.
tired. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, bless him.
But so I'm thrilled to talk to you, especially since
Yeah.
you announced, what was it, like a few days ago, that you're doing another expedition.
Yeah, so that's the Isle of Skye this year. So we announced it about a week ago, and we've been sort of keeping it under wraps for a couple of weeks, and then decided, you know what, it's World Oceans Day, let's get it out there, announce that we're doing it. And so my friend and I are in the early planning stages of it, and sort of training for it at the minute as well, and trying to get some enthusiasm behind it at the minute about. I'm trying to get the public on board and get the message out there. And there's going to be, again, a similar campaign to the one we did last year, but focusing on a slightly different element of marine plastic. So all to be revealed in the next few weeks once we get some social media stuff out. But I'm really excited for it. And it's a completely different challenge this time. So I'll be on the water on my own. And my friend Zoe will be running around the island with her dog. So it's a it's a completely different challenge, a different set of ocean conditions as well. It's up in Scotland, which is renowned for its tidal races and its wind and waves. So it's going to be a completely different challenge, but one that I'm really, really looking forward to and excited to do with another female adventurer.
Now, so the first one, that was last year.
That was last year, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, what exactly did you do last year? Because I've been following this adventure on Instagram and through Sup magazine and different paddleboarding media outlets. But tell me more about. How did you get this idea?
Okay, so I really have a huge passion for the oceans and spend a lot of time surfing and started paddleboarding and was finding all this marine litter on the beaches and in the ocean and just felt really sad about it. And there was a lot of stuff coming through in the media about the harmful effects of marine plastic, and I didn't feel like there was much awareness about it at the time last year. I really wanted to sort of highlight the problems to people, but also to show that there's so much simple stuff that we could do about it. That's what frustrated me the most, is that so much of it was so avoidable, and we didn't really need to be using all this plastic and disposing of it incorrectly. But that if we kept on pushing people with these horrible messages of doom and gloom, that it was just going to turn people off the subject. So I wanted to create a fun campaign that people could get on board with themselves, with a really simple message. And one of the things I was finding most commonly were plastic bottles. So I thought, well, that's the easiest thing that we can actually do without, is plastic water bottles when we've got clean tap water. So the campaign was designed to highlight the problem of plastic bottles in the ocean and the harm that they're causing to the ocean environment and the animals in the ocean, but moreover to show people that by just using a refillable bottle and ditching the single-use plastic bottles, refusing to use them, that each and every one of us can make a big difference to our oceans. Even recycling plastic bottles, it takes a lot of energy to make them in the first place, and there's just no need for them. It's the one thing that we can live without in this society if we think ahead and take a refillable bottle with us and refill it wherever we go. So I don't know where the idea to paddle around Cornwall came from. It's a beautiful part of the country, and it's as affected by marine litter as anywhere else. And I decided that I would paddle the whole coast of it, and use it as the sort of vehicle to raise awareness and to show people how we can protect that beautiful environment, and also the environments around people in other parts of the country that they love as well.
Well, now, are you sponsored? Is this something that you're a professional at?
No, absolutely not. I'd done it. I'd paddleboarded for about a year, mostly on estuaries. I'd not really done any. I'd never done an expedition before. I was a complete amateur, and I started training about 8 weeks before the trip. And I really love paddleboarding. Like I say, that was my connection to the ocean, as well as surfing. Paddleboarding was my connection to the ocean. I'd had a few injuries previously. I had operations on my hips and hadn't really been able to do much exercise for a long time. And then paddleboarding really got me back into being able to be out in the ocean in that environment that I love. And I just became incredibly determined to get this message out, and decided to sort of do it off my own back. That there was no I'm certainly not a professional athlete. I had the support of Starboard paddleboards, who really came on board with the expedition, and they've got their own environmental stance, which is great. They're really stepping up with their packaging and their board design, and trying to limit their own impact on the environment, as well as encouraging plastic awareness initiatives. So they came on board, and so did Palm Equipment and Finisterre, who are outdoor companies over here, to sort of help me out with kit. But I'm certainly not a sponsored athlete. I was very much giving it a go and seeing what happened, with the determination and the passion to make a difference. And it did get me into a bit of trouble at times. I don't think I was quite prepared for the conditions that we came across. I sort of thought that we would have beautiful flat sunny water and easy paddling 20 miles a day. We'll just paddle 20 miles a day. And it was a real struggle, and we had days when the swell was well overhead and the winds were so strong that we were moving backwards, even though we were paddling as hard as we could. And it was emotionally and mentally exhausting. And because it was my first ever sort of expedition or adventure, I was learning every second of the day, learning new skills, learning about the ocean, learning about myself, my own abilities, my physical capabilities, my mental capabilities. I think there was one day when I just cried all day because the day before had been so exhausting. But I think the learning curve was part of the joy of it. The fact that I'd never done anything like that before was part of the joy of it.
Well, see, what I can't get over, though, is that you're just this one person, and it was something you enjoyed, and you said, sure, I'm going to go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible.
Thank you. I just had to do something. I couldn't just sit and just watch our beautiful planet and our beautiful oceans being destroyed by something so simple, so easy to change, and so important to change that mindset. And
Well, see,
we've got something we can do.
But that's the mindset of it. This is what I love about what you do, because I've been reducing our waste in our family as far as what we consume as a family. But with Shane, with paddleboarding, what really opened my eyes to everything was when he would go down the river and come home to our garbage can that we pay for it, instead of dumping it into like a city garbage can, because there aren't any at the boat launches.
Right. Okay.
He would take this, and this is a daily thing, just garbage being collected in the river. And so that really opened my eyes to what a problem it is. But after a while, it gets exhausting to be thinking about this problem, and it's very upsetting. And so I felt kind of defeated by the problem for a bit. Yeah. But I love how your message is no judgment. It's all positivity. It's how can we have fun and promote this in a way that is, I don't know, it's such a difference from some of the other people that I follow where it gets so disheartening.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And that's the problem, I think. If we shame people and guilt people into doing this and tell people that you have to do this, you have to do that, you should be doing this, that's no good, and that's going to turn people off. But also it's not fair because our society has been built on this single-use plastic, which is so universal. You can't get away with it. I'm similar. I try to reduce my plastic waste as much as possible. I use very, very little single-use plastic now, but there are some things you just can't get around. And I don't think it's fair to say to individual people that you should not be living like this. I think it's about congratulating and encouraging the positive steps that we can do, and focusing on that. And I think that the more people are proud of that way of living, and the more people are encouraged to live in that way, and to live with an environmental consciousness behind what they do and their choices, the more pressure there is on the big brands and the supermarkets and the policy makers to actually make a change at the higher end, which will then filter down through and make it easier for people to live in a way that's environmentally conscious. Make it priority for the supermarkets, make it a priority for the government to have environmental legislation. But the more people who care about it, the more pressure there is to make it that way.
Well, so we made a video not that long ago about Shane going down the river and collecting the garbage, and we tried to have some fun with it. And I purposefully did not write any preachy things about stop using plastic or anything like that. I kind of wanted people to interpret it and however they wanted to interpret it. And I was a little taken aback by some of the comments, and I totally understand where you have this gut reaction of saying people are disgusting. I can't believe they do this. But my feeling after, especially going down the river, is that a number of these items that are found in the river, it's not someone that came and there are definitely people that dump stuff in the river, but I don't feel like it was anything malicious or someone that was being inconsiderate of the environment. It was accidental. It's something, it's a balloon that a kid, let go of, or it's flip-flops that were lost in the river. So when you were on the first expedition, what were how do you feel like those items are getting to the beaches?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And similarly, I've had people comment on I've done a big beach cleanup, and people said, I can't believe people would leave all this stuff on the beach. That's not the point. It's not people going down to the beach and abusing those spaces. 80% of what's found in the sea and what's found on the beach has come from the land, and a lot of it is in the disposal of what we're using. So recycling is absolutely key. So if we're using items and we can recycle them, they must be recycled. But so much of the single-use plastic in this country anyway, in the UK, so much of the single-use plastic that we're using is either, is it a spider? Hello, mate. So much of that's not recyclable or not easily recyclable, or people aren't separating their recycling. So in the UK, we basically have different bins. We have a cardboard bin, a plastic bin, a metal bin, and a general waste bin. And a lot of conscientious people will make the effort to separate their recycling, but some packaging doesn't have simple guidelines as to whether or not it's recyclable, and some people aren't separating that recycling. Or if you're out and about, you go for a walk down in your natural environment, and you've got a bottle of water with you, and you finish your drink and you just put it in the normal bin, you're not going to take it home and recycle it. And it's about creating a circular economy. So if all these single-use items that we're using feed back into that circular economy so that they're recycled and reformed into other items of packaging and reused, and that circle continues, then you close the loop on all that packaging so that it doesn't have any opportunity to get into the environment. But if that's not the case, then these items that we're using, they end up in landfill, they can be blown off into the environment, inevitably end up in a waterway, a canal, a river, and then they end up in the ocean. There's also a lot of dumping of litter into the marine environment. So especially in third world countries where waste disposal isn't as sophisticated, garbage trucks are purposely dumping rubbish into the ocean, and then it's washing up thousands of miles away. It happens in the UK too. We're using so much packaging in our daily lives that it's finding its way into the oceans because it's not going back into that closed loop. It's not going back into that recycling process. And recycling plants are getting, increasingly, have been historically quite selective over what they can recycle because there's an economic implication, and so stuff that ends up in landfill it's in the environment. It's there. It's just waiting to find its way into a waterway or to end up in the ocean. And so it's not as simple as sort of people dumping stuff on the beaches or dumping stuff in the ocean. It's about our entire culture of using this stuff and it being a sort of throwaway item that can just be thrown away. And like you say, it's not a malicious act, but there's not the connection between the fact that when we throw this away, it's not away. There is no away unless it's been processed and recreated into something else. It's never just gone away, and it's got that potential to find its way into the environment.
Yeah,
Hello.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, see, so here's my moving forward. All right, you raised this awareness of just what individuals can do on an individual level and just being more conscious of it. But where do you feel like the solution is going to really come from? Is it just the collective is going to come together and drive consumer their voting dollars to affect how businesses package things, or is it going to be coming from the government, such as you see these ban plastic bags initiatives? Where is the solution coming from?
I think it's got to be a mixture of both. So there are a lot of changes coming at the consumer level at the moment. So you're finding zero waste shops, supermarkets are selling things with less packaging, not necessarily advertising it at this stage. It's not a big thing at the moment, but I see the change happening on all levels. So I think where we are as consumers, having that awareness is really important, and making those informed choices is really important to limit our own intake. I think the way that we're going to affect it long term is by making it so important to us that the supermarkets are then pressured to package less, to use less plastic packaging, to create deposit return schemes with things like plastic bottles. So that's a governmental change. So in the UK, we're really pushing for a plastic bottle deposit return scheme, which basically encourages recycling by offering a really small, sort of 20 pence reward for returning your plastic bottles and creating that circular economy. I think there's lots being done in finding packaging that is easily recyclable, rather than the sort of films and things that we're using at the minute, which aren't as easily recyclable. But I think since I've been sort of following this movement and pushing for change myself, I've seen a lot come in the way of awareness in the public sector, and people are getting really annoyed at the amount of marine litter. And I think that's a good start to try and get on board bigger companies who are able to implement the changes further up the chain. And I think the biggest problem we have with single-use plastic is the packaging, food packaging, clothes packaging, and more businesses and enterprises and small companies are really focusing on this as their sort of mission statement. So, you know, there are outdoor brands who aren't who are making outdoor clothing from recycled fishing nets or from recycled plastic bottles. There are zero waste shops popping up all around the place, and the more and more this becomes mainstream and the more people are encouraged to do this and actually wanting to do this, the more the general public are actively making these choices, I think the more widespread it will be and the more it will become second nature. So, for example, in the UK, we had a plastic bag ban a couple of years ago, a plastic bag charge implemented. So the government basically imposed a 5p plastic bag charge for any bag that you buy in a supermarket. And it's reduced the amount of plastic bags we use by 80%. And that's just by making it a policy, and it changes that behaviour. It creates a mindset shift. So now you go to the supermarket, you don't even consider getting a plastic bag. It's just not something you do. It's, you know, you're not going to buy it not because it's 5p. You know, 5p is nothing, but it's the fact that it's all of a sudden something that you don't really do in the shop. So I think it's going to take a long time. I don't think it's going to be an overnight change, but I think we're getting there, and more people are getting on board with the message, and more businesses are getting on board with the message, and making it easy for people, and the people who aren't that into the message, making it a policy. So sort of, you know, with that 5p bag charge, that's what that's done. I think that's the way we're gonna get around the problem.
Well, all of that sounds great to me. But before, because I want to make sure that you can get on with your day, but before we go, I want to talk more about paddleboarding quickly.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to prepare for this next expedition? Like you said, you weren't prepared in any way last year, which is awesome. I can't even fathom waking up and saying, I'm going to do this. But that's what makes life exciting.
Definitely.
And I also saw that you kiteboard, which I've always wanted to try. No, I think that looks so fun, but it's very scary to me, at least. Yeah. So what are you doing to prepare for this next one?
Yeah. So because I've had the experience of the Cornwall trip, I know that it's not going to be as easy as I think. I think I'm perpetually optimistic about, or maybe optimistic is the wrong word. I think I'm very determined about my abilities. I had a real knock with my physical health a few years ago, and since I've started paddleboarding again, it's really empowered me to be able to go and do things. And so now I think I feel so determined to be able to go and use my body that I almost don't accept its limitations. You know, it is just a human body. But having done the last trip and realizing that I'm no stronger than, you know, I can't fight against ocean conditions. I can't fight against tides. I can't fight against winds. The preparation for this trip is going to be much more involved in looking at conditions and being able to accept that if it's a particularly windy or you know, there's big swell day, then I just can't go out that day. So the preparation at the moment is going to be based on physical training. So I've started sort of getting my paddle fitness going. It's really hard to train for this kind of thing because you're on the water for 8-10 hours a day for 3 weeks at a time. You can't get that level of fitness before you go out there. So for me, it's a case of being as fit as I can, getting my paddle fitness as strong as I can, but accepting that the first week is going to be really tough. You kind of gain your fitness as you go along the way. So that's what I found with the Cornwall paddle. The first week was really, really hard work. And, you know, 20 miles a day when the maximum I'd done before I went on the trip was about 10 miles. It was really hard. And my body was my body was really aching, really stiff, really sore. But the excitement and the determination got me through that. Whereas this time I know that I need to get my body a little bit fitter before I start out. So training wise, I do a lot of stand-up paddle surfing. So I kind of tell myself that that's good training and go surfing a lot. I'm working as well at the moment quite a lot, so it's trying to fit training around that. I've got a little training schedule. It depends on conditions, but I basically paddle sort of 4 or 5 times a week now until I go, and it'll be a mixture of distance paddles. So I won't, manage to do 20-mile paddles each time I go. Sort of stick it to sort of 10-mile paddles in the run up, and interval training. So I've got this beautiful estuary behind me, and I often go out in the estuary because it's so easy. And if you've got big windy days in the ocean, it's nice to be able to go and do some training where it's a little bit more sheltered. So I'll do sort of sprint sections, so 30 seconds of sprint, sprint paddling, and then 30 seconds of rest, and then gradually build that up. My training schedule is not, it's not an athlete's training schedule. I haven't got the time to train like that because I'm also trying to run the campaign and I'm also trying to work as well. So I basically just do as much as I can and acknowledge the fact that most of my fitness is going to come when I get on the water and when I get out there to Scotland, and that a lot of it is in your mind. So last year I was really stressed before I started the trip, and as soon as I got out there, my mind calmed down, and it was just it's a complete mind game. So I'm going to be focusing a lot more on my mental game in the run up to this one. I think just making sure that I'm not stressed, making sure that I take plenty of rest, and do loads of yoga and keep my body as fit and supple as I can be without going over the top. You just can't prepare for the physicalness of a 3-week challenge like this. Can't.
Well, we've been following Chris Impossible.
Yeah. How incredible was that?
I know, right? And so watching him and just hearing his stories, that's exactly what it sounds like. And then I'm following Kiko.
Yeah.
I think she's out in your area somewhere, right?
Yeah, she's in the southwest. Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear the motivation behind it and the I don't know, it's inspiring to hear someone say, I'm going to push my body to the limit, I'm going to listen to my body, like just the conversations that happen around that, and also the health issues that people have had and how they've used that as motivation. But anyway.
I think it's a really, everyone has their own relationship with their body, and because I've not been capable, I wasn't capable to exercise for several years, to now be able to do it, I feel invincible, and it's not always a good thing, but to push yourself to the point where you can't actually go any further and then go a bit further, to actually find that that motivation from within yourself is so powerful. And everyone's got a different body, everyone's got a different mind, and I think it's all about acknowledging what that means for you. Little doggy, come say hello. Hello, doggy. Acknowledging, what that is for you. Hello. And not being so, I'm really good at being really hard on myself, and really quite critical if I'm not having a good day and I'm not able to paddle very far. I'll get quite upset with myself, and especially on the last paddle trip I was paddling with a man who was a lot stronger than me, and I just didn't want to accept that he could be a stronger paddler than me. How can anyone be any different to anyone? It's all in your mind, but actually it's not. It is in your body as well. And acknowledging that and acknowledging my limitations was a really big part of the last paddle. And I know, I'll never say, I'm just a girl, so I'm not as strong as the boys, because I don't think that's the case. I think, that women can be really fit and really strong, but men can be really fit and really strong. And equally, where there's, variation between different women, there's also variation between, men and women. And it's just finding out where you're at and what that means to you, and how far you're willing to push yourself and how far you're able to push yourself, and your mind as well. I think it's amazing. Going on these adventures and these expeditions are really quite eye-opening to who you are and how you work.
And just really fast, and you don't have to answer this, but what do you do for a living?
I'm a vet.
Oh
So
my goodness, really?
Yeah.
So you
But
have
I work,
like long hours then. You probably work a
yeah,
lot.
12-hour days and nights as well.
Goodness.
It's yeah, trying to fit it around that's been a bit of a challenge. Yeah.
Oh, well, Cal, thank you so much for talking to me. I know it's early there,
My
but
pleasure, Jen.
oh my goodness, so beautiful too. Really beautiful
Gorgeous.
area, and I'm really grateful to have found you on Instagram. I think it was from the Sup magazine originally, and wish you a lot of luck in the upcoming expedition. I'm definitely going to be cheering you on from Seattle.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's really nice to speak to you too, and it's the whole point of what I'm doing is to try and empower people and try and inspire people. You know, I'm not anything out of the ordinary. I've got a job. I'm a normal person. I'm not a sponsored athlete. I am just a normal person, and I just want people to know that anybody can make a change for whatever they're passionate about, whatever hits your heart hard. Go out and do something about it. If there's a pull to do something, then you can do it, and everybody can make a difference. I'm really grateful to you for reaching out to me and for chatting. It's lovely to hear about what you guys are doing with reducing your single-use waste and the paddleboarding adventures you're going on. So it's really nice to talk to you.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll do something bigger in the future, Shane and I, because this is definitely so inspiring. Because you look at like Chris Burdish, and you think, oh, he's this big guy who's a professional athlete, sponsored, and you just think you'd never be able to do something of that magnitude. But when you see someone like yourself that just said, I'm going to do it, and you found a way, I think that's so cool.
Thank you, Jen. And anybody can. Yeah, anybody can. Just be careful, obviously gotta be safety aware, but as long as you've got the safety bits in place, anyone can do anything. I really believe, and this is why I get so stubborn when Jack was paddling twice as fast as me in Cornwall. I get so stubborn because I believe that anybody can do anything they put their mind to, and you do have your body's limitations, but as long as you're determined, I think you can do anything you put your mind to.
I love that. All right, Cal. Well,
Yeah.
I'll let you
get to bed.
Thank you so much for doing